Hello and welcome to April Wrapped. So my month of April all wrapped up. Let me just get straight into it. So life-wise, the only thing I really did was go on 2 more dates with Mr. Italiano, and that unfortunately wasn't a suitable romantic match, just wasn't. And I think the biggest thing was I ended up re-looking at his dating profile, and he changed his relationship goals from long-term relationship to figuring out my dating goals. And I'm like, well, doesn't that make sense? That makes a lot of sense. I'm like, the dude is clearly just wanting to sample all the chocolates out there before picking one. So good luck to him. But yeah, that's not the way I work. I pick one and focus all my attention on them. But that's okay. There'll be someone out there that, reciprocate that energy with. But yeah, that's pretty much all I got up to. I didn't really do anything else exciting this month. Also, in terms of books and movies, I didn't watch anything, nothing. So yeah, I spent most of the time reading this month. So viewing time was way down. Speaking of books, so I ended up reading a total of 62 books this month, but I think 16 of those were DNFs. So what is that, like 48 books read in total? So more than usual. There was a lot of good books. I think 14 or so were above a 4-star rating, which is fantastic for me. If I had to pick one, there were multiple 5-star books this month. If I had to pick one, it would be Just for the Summer by Abby Jimenez. She is my favorite contemporary romance author because her books have substance. Everyone in her books are dealing with some kind of trauma that they're having to unpack and work through in order to be in a healthy relationship with each other. And I really appreciate that. She does have some spice. There is some sex scenes, but there's not a lot and it's not graphic detail. So it is more on the tame side, but I just love her books, man. They make me happy. They make me feel things. And I really enjoyed it. I'd say this one is mostly to do with mummy issues. That's the main gist of this book's trauma. Now, in regards to the book covers, once again, a lot of pretty ones. I'm going to give an honorable mention to Wednesday's Child. I think it's very, very pretty and autumnal. But if I had to pick one, I'm going to pick the book that made me buy it without knowing anything about it. And that was Thunderhead. So as you can see, the pearls are iridescent. So they've foiled the pearls, and I thought, oh my God, that's stunning. But then the naked cover of the book also has rainbow holographic pearls, which are not coming up in this slide. That's a shame. But they've got holographic foiling, and then it's got end papers, bro. How beautiful are those clouds? I think it's the same. Yes, but the cover alone suckered me in, and I bought it. It ended up being a 4-star read. So Thunderhead is about a mother in an abusive relationship who ends up deciding to get the hell out of there, but the writing is very beautiful and poetic, and there's just this constant quiet threat like laced throughout the book. It's almost like the distant rumbling of thunder, like something ominous is occurring. But I did enjoy this one. In terms of music, there were 2 new songs I liked. So I liked Favorite by Isabel La Rosa. It says English version, so I don't know if that means that there's another version, but I did like this one. And like lyric-wise, I really vibed with Mother 8 by Jane Bell, which is about Eve. So from Adam and Eve, and I enjoyed that one quite a lot. I thought the lyrics were good. I seem to have a penchant for lyrics about, Lilith and Eve and like the biblical women that, dead. Cafe-wise, so I actually did go out quite a bit this month. Went to a lot of cafes. My favorite would definitely have to be Pony White. It's just very light filled. There's a bountiful amount of booth seating, which is my favorite kind of seating. And there are flowers everywhere. Flowers all around. And the food was also pretty good. So that's one I definitely want to go back to and have put it on my will return to list. That was my favorite cafe outing this month. Garden wise, I'll put some images up here. I'm not really doing anything. I have some flowers that have sprouted and my wildflowers are still going off. So I'll just show any footage here of any flowers that are blooming currently in my yard. But yeah, haven't done anything this month. I've just been admiring all of the leaves turning all of their beautiful fiery colors as we're now getting closer to winter. Purchases. So you've seen most of my purchases through my Melbourne blog diaries, but I also purchased this candle. I do normally use essential oil candles, but sometimes when I don't feel like, frankincense and sandalwood and lavender, I want to buy something that smells like something. And this one said caramel latte. and it smells like a caramel latte. And I like it. It's nice. I have a sweet spot for sweet candles. I like the gourmand fragrances when it comes to the more artificially fragranced candles. I like this one. And I also purchased a deck. So I had my Noctis deck come in. That's a deck that I made and obviously ordered. I don't feel like that counts as like purchasing decks because it's more like art projects for me. But I did actually buy an actual deck. So this is the first Oracle deck, tarot deck that I've bought this year, and it's a Kickstarter. So I backed it on Kickstarter, and it is called the Evidence-Based Magic Deck, and I just really like the art style. So I'm pretty much just supporting the artist for this one. I thought the art was really gorgeous. I don't know how it's going to work as an oracle, but yeah, I was really drawn to the images. So that is the deck purchase of this month. No idea when that will come in, obviously. But that's pretty much everything of April. Like I said, it was a very sort of quiet, insular month. I think a lot of my attention was based on sort of surrounding the romantic prospect, going on dates and like chatting to them and thinking about them. So now that that's gone, I've got more time, like I said, to catch up on YouTube, to spend on my creative pursuits. But now let's look at the deck and crochet portion. Hello and welcome to the crochet and deck portion. I thought I'd already filmed this, but it was not on. So here we go again. So first off, I made some coasters out of some yarn that I had in a top. I didn't like the top, so I made some rainbow colored coasters. And now let's get to the decks. So first up, we've got this one here. I'll lift it up so you can see the sort of licorice all sorts button. So this is in hedgehog fibers in the color Insomnia. This was a 4-ply that I double stranded, and I did it in Suzette stitch. And I made this bag for the Dirt Gems. So this was originally an indie deck, but I did not get my hands on it, so I had to get the mass market version. So the paper is a matte paper. It's full color. So this has its own system. They're sort of in suits, and it'll tell you about the suit beforehand. There's just some simple spreads there, some words on tradition, and there you go. So that's information on the suits. And then you've got the write-up, so you've got a full color. This is like the closest you're probably going to get to a keyword. So there are no keywords. You pretty much do have to read all of this. So because of the way that this is structured, I did end up just using this as a single card pull. It is beautifully written, but I'll talk more about it in a second. So these are the backs of the cards, which I do like. It is edged in a sort of dark matte gold. The cardstock is that very thick satin, and I don't love it because it clumps. So it isn't a great shuffling experience because it's so clumpy. It doesn't even like fan out smoothly. It's all clumped. I'm hoping maybe with time that changes, but yeah, it's not the best shuffling experience because of that. So the illustration style, I love it. I think it's beautiful. I particularly like the ones with color. There are some black and white ones in here, but overall, I think they're very, very, very pretty and very calming. And because it's got just a simple black with pops of color scheme, it does go with a lot of decks. However, the downside of this deck is the fact there are no keywords. So on the cards, all you're getting is the number, the name, and then the suit that it's part of. There's no other information on here. Look, could you read intuitively if you know enough about plants that you have your own associations? Yes. Some of them have like hints to the meaning with a little other illustrations on them. But for me, I'm always using the guidebook every time. Because Barbary, I'm just like, no, what does it mean? So with the guidebook, it's beautiful. It's very almost storytelling in the way it's written. So it's not easy to read for divination purposes. It's just not sort of written that way. Like I said, this is, if you want a quick one, I would just read the title of the card if you don't want to go in depth with the meaning. But I just used this as sort of like a daily medicine pull. This was the card that I got the most catnip. So I did have quite a few stalker cards in this. Despite using it for a month, I didn't really get a breadth of cards. I think it's because they clumped. So I might have to change how I choose my cards to make sure I'm getting equal opportunity. So this one is a soothsayer. It says, if you need to cry, if you need to laugh, or if you need to rest, invite catnip in. Let catnip swing softly back and forth, curled up in a hammock in a warm breeze with you. So it's a very calming, soothing book. I found it very nurturing, like a cup of warm milk with lavender before bedtime. That's the energy that I got from this deck. So it's almost kind of like dreamlike quality to it as well. But I did enjoy my time with it every day, pulling a card and seeing what it said and letting sink in what resonated and drift away what did not. But yes, it just felt like reading a little bedtime story almost. But I do really like this deck. Like I said, I wish that they had actually picked a keyword to go with each card. I find that very helpful in my practice. I know some people have written keywords on their decks, but I don't want to mar the images with this. I don't think it's really conducive to popping a keyword on the front. But yeah, it will definitely be staying in my collection. But like I said, because of the way it's written and structured, it is definitely just a one card pull for me kind of thing. I find it very wintry in the energy. I feel like it's got an almost cocooning, hibernation, going into a cave like energy, hermetic in a way as well, so very much turning within. And I probably will use it a bit now that we are coming up into, winter season and hibernation. But this was the Dirt Gems plant, an oracle. So next up we've got this bag here. So this is in Heirloom Merino Flex 6558 in Suzette stitch. I made it too big because once again I crocheted a bag when I didn't have the deck on hand. I don't know why I keep doing that. I'm very impatient sometimes. And I made this for my Noctis Oracle. So I edged mine in a sort of burnt gold. These are the backs. I printed this with Make Playing cards. Mine came a bit bowed, as you can see, and it's on linen cardstock. So I just wanted to have a creative project, so I decided to redo the Solace Oracle cards in a different aesthetic compared to the Solace Oracle, obviously with whatever images that I found on Pinterest. And that is the most fun. Just using whatever you like for your own purposes. It's like scrapbooking, I guess, or making collages, pin vision boards, all that sort of thing. You just find images that resonate with you, and then you make pictures. And obviously I put my cats in here too, my beautiful, beautiful babies, my fur babies. But after doing this one too, I've decided that I am redoing the Solace, and I'm doing it with more of this aesthetic, but with the same guidebook. So that is underway. I have no idea how long that's going to take me. I go on and off on it. I do a bit and then I don't touch it for a week, and then I might do a bit more. So whenever it's ready, I'll let you guys know. But the Solace as it was will not be sold again. So if you are one of the very few people who have a copy of that, that is the only copy that will ever be out there of that deck. But yeah, this was a lot of fun, very cathartic for me. It's just, yeah, I wish I had skills with painting, drawing, sculpture making, anything to do with the hands and creating, but I don't. I've tried so many different forms, and it never translates what's in my head. Like I see it in my head and it comes out and I'm like, nope, that looks like a 4-year-old did it. So collaging digitally is a way that I can scratch that itch and end up with something that I don't mind. I'm like, okay, this is decent. This is fun. And making my own decks is so fun. It's so fun. And Indiana, after seeing Mummy do this, asked to make her own deck. So she's made her own deck. I think she's only done like 30-something cards. I'm sure I'll put it on a monthly wrap-up. The titles are like all over the place. I told her next time I'll help her make one and we'll do it together, because I think a lot of the images she picked were just from the internet, and they were like so tiny, so when they went on the card they had to be blown up and distorted. But she's like, I don't mind if it's blurry. So I'll show you that when it's done. But yes, this was a lot of fun and I've enjoyed working with it. I used it mostly with the Dreamy Moons Oracle. I thought they went really well together, but it was a lot of fun. Okay, and then the final one for this month is the Spin Right Round yarns. This is Spin Right Round in the color Monster, and I did it in a shell stitch, and this was an 8-ply. So in here we have the 3 black moons. So this was a Kickstarter deck. It's got a beautiful rose petal finish there. This is a very, very simple guidebook. So it's full color gloss, and that's what you get. So you just get a little write-up for the card, and that is it. So super Spartan in a way. And then we've got the backs. They're okay. I don't particularly love them, but they're fine. They're just, I don't know why I just don't gravitate. Maybe without the lines I would have liked it more. Maybe it's these lines. It's just reminding me of like drawing lines in Word. The edging is a beautiful shimmery gold matte edging, so I love the edging. For me though, I don't love the cardstock. So as you can see, mine's a bit bowed, a bit warped in a way. It's a very thin rose petal, but as you can see, if you bend it, it stays bent. So I have to be very careful with these cards. And the rose petal is, to me, is one of those ones that feels chalky. So I don't like the cardstock personally. And with the borders, I don't know. Once again, I'm thinking a bit big. They're a bit big, especially considering the keyword is very tiny, teeny tiny on the image. So I was always a fan of the tarot. So when this came up, I thought, oh, I'll try this out. And I don't know what it is. I just haven't really connected to it. I do like the imagery, the photos. I think they're lovely. I do like the mix of color and black and white, although I do feel like the black and white pack more of a punch than the color. So maybe it would have been better if it had all been black and white, I think, to be honest. There are some that seem a bit jarring, and I'll point them out to you when I see them. But I find this is a very shadowy deck. Like, they do call it a shadow work deck. It's a shadow deck. It's got almost like a snake-like energy for me. And I did have to pair it with very benign, sort of gentle cards. I think I ended up pairing it with that Astro Codes Oracle one. So the one that has astrology, because I needed something to soften the message and also to give it a bit more nuance, to apply it to something, whether that's a house or a planet or whatever it was. I found that was a really great deck to bring more nuance to the readings and, like I said, make them less severe. Some of them I felt were a bit severe. I tried working with it as a shadow. Working deck, that didn't really work for me. It was more of a energies kind of thing, or emotions, or what's another word? It even kind of worked as divinatory as long as I paired it with something else. But yeah, I definitely did look at the guidebook, so I didn't just go based on the keyword, because sometimes the meaning written up there was a bit different than what I would associate with, like, say, the word war. So I did always consult the guidebook with this one. Maybe in the future I might just use it based on the keyword instead, but this is definitely a deck I need to pair with other things. It just doesn't work for me on its own. I have to have it with something else that gives it more meaning. But yeah, I guess I was just a bit disappointed. I had a lot of excitement for it, and it just, I don't know, it didn't translate into reality as well as it looked on the screen. So this card, I just feel like doesn't suit the rest of the deck. So yeah, like, I don't know what it is. But I'm not getting rid of it. I'm still keeping it in my collection and just trying to figure out how it works best. And with what decks it pairs really well with. Like I said, I did really like it with the Astro Codes. Astro Codes has a lot of grey in the background, and I just felt like they went quite well together, and they did mirror each other a lot. So I might get the card for Desire, and then the Astro would bring me up, the Venus Desire. So they did marry quite well together. I think it's also a sensory issue thing for me. Like, I don't actually like touching the deck, so I think there's just a few little things that added up to me not being completely enamored with it. But yep, I'm still going to keep it in my collection. It has a place. I don't have anything else like this. I do really like photography decks, and I just don't have a lot of them, especially if it's a bit more like a culty photography and women focused, because that's my favorite. But yeah, that could be like the cover of a fantasy book with killer nuns. This was the Three Moons Oracle. So those were all of the decks and crochet for this month. 2 were pre-orders from last year, and then 1 was the deck that I made for myself. So until next time, stay wild, Star Child.